Hi there, people. It's the 4th of January. We're into 2021. We've got rid of the pain in the arse that was 2020. Hope you're all well. Christmas wasn't how we'd liked it to have been, but however, onwards and upwards, we've got to keep going and plugging on through this. Thought I'd just jump on here today, just get a few things off my chest. A bit later on this evening, or by the time you're watching this, it might have already been on. Our Prime Minister is going to give us the lowdown on possibly, well, not possibly, definitely locking down again. Not wholly surprised that we're going to get this. We still have, sections of the population that are fucking morons, won't do as they're asked. It's far too much for them to expect them just not to be selfish for once in their lives. And we're going to be in a situation probably similar to what we were in March last year, with kind of like a proper lockdown. There's a few people that kind of have driven this. Obviously, we had the student spreaders, kind of August time. They kind of kicked things off by just acting like dickheads when they got to uni. You've got the perennial dickheads that won't do what they're told just for the sake of they don't do as they're told. We get the protesters protesting against lockdown, not realising that what they're doing brings lockdown ever closer, and it has done. You've got the protesters that are going to protest against the vaccine. It's their choice. It's not going to be brought in as mandatory. It's not going to be compulsory that you have to have it. So if you don't want to have it, fine, but don't fucking make everyone else's life a misery by protesting about it and then dragging this thing on months and months past where we could have been. It is annoying. The whole thing with the schools is a bit, it's kind of, I can see teachers being a bit cautious. The problem being is, if you think about one thing and solely one thing, you forget about the bigger picture. So yeah, they don't want the kids back in school yet because they don't think it's safe. But is it really safe when recent reports say that it's possibly the 10 to 19-year-old age range that's spreading this thing so quickly? Is it really wise to just literally say, right, let them all be at home, so that then their parents can just open their front door in the morning, come back when you're hungry, and they're running around mixing with whoever, wherever. Parents don't know who they're mixing with, don't know where they're going. A lot of them don't really care, as long as they just come back in the evening. It's not really their problem. They're going to be running around without masks on, in public places. So I can kind of see a logic in not opening the schools, but I can also see the side of it that if you let these children be at home and they're not contained in an environment that is COVID safe, they're just going to be running wild, because that's how parenting works for this generation now. It isn't about looking after your children, it's about just giving birth, wait till they're old enough to look after themselves, and then away you go. There's going to be big parts of the population that are just literally, if their kids are off, it's going to be feed and breakfast in the morning, open the front door, out you go, come back when you're hungry at lunchtime, out you go, come back when you're hungry at dinner time, out you go, come back when you feel like it. Because that's the way parenting works at the moment. It's a lot different than, say, it was kind of 15, 20 years ago, where parents actually parented. Now parents don't want to parent. They want to produce children, but they don't want to bring them up. And that's what we're going to end up with at the moment, is kids are going to be off. And in the last lockdown, the big lockdown, the kids were off, but they were still running around in the streets as if there was nothing wrong. Everyone else is told you not to go out. Everyone else is told exercise once a day at the last lockdown. You're trying to stick to it, and then there's kids just running around in the streets. So there's got to be a trade-off with this. If you're going to say all kids have got to stay home, fine. All kids have got to stay indoors then. Or all kids have to wear masks. It's as simple as that. I know there's going to be people watching this kicking off, but no, fuck you. If you won't look after your kids and you don't know where they are, you don't know who they're mixing with. They could be picking it up and bringing it into your house. They could have it and be spreading it elsewhere. It's time for people to stop being so fucking selfish and just thinking about themselves and generation me. And let's think of the bigger picture. We're doing this and going through this shit for the benefit of everyone, to try and make sure everyone's safe. But when you got, you know, big portions of the population that just think about them fucking selves all the time, you know, part of me gets a bit annoyed with the way the teachers are acting and getting the union involved, and the union saying, well, if you don't want to go to work, you don't have to. There's some people in this country that don't get that fucking choice. They have to go to work. They are having to risk themselves. I'll give you one example. People working in supermarkets. Without them, we'd be fucked. But since day one of this virus and day one of lockdown, they've had to go in day after day after day, getting abuse, working horrible conditions, working longer hours, working when they don't normally work. They've had to basically put in a fucking shift. But you don't see their union saying to them, well, you don't have to go in if you don't want to. If it's too difficult, you don't have to go in. So perhaps it's time for teachers to fucking man up and kind of go, okay, it's not an ideal situation, but we've got to make the best of it, because there's other people within society that are carrying on working as if that, you know, and they haven't got that ability that the union can tell them, well, if you don't want to go in, you don't have to. You know, delivery drivers don't. People delivering your shopping, say people working in supermarkets have kept this fucking country ticking over. But they haven't been given the option of standing back and going, it's too risky. Whereas the teachers are being told by the union, well, if you don't want to go in, you don't have to go in. So I can kind of see everyone's concerned, and there's people that just work in what I'd say normal jobs that are still expected to go into work and travel to their offices because their companies are making decisions, because the big bosses are sat at fucking home on their arses, nice and safe, making the decisions for their companies, their people who work for their companies to go out and work, and not thinking about their safety but just thinking of that money. It's quite a sad situation that we've become. You don't realise how selfish we've become until you see what's going to happen today. That all this could have been resolved and we could have been a lot nearer getting back to normal before spring, had people have just done basic things that they've been asked to do and just be a little less selfish. But most people went, oh, fuck off. I want to be selfish. I want to just think about me. So you get these dickheads that went out on New Year's Eve having parties and stuff like that and organising big piss-ups and big raves and stuff like that. Again, it's generation me. When we look back historically and you look at certain generations, they've defined themselves by doing things above and beyond. So you've had like the people in the 40s and the 50s define themselves by coming through the war and then putting up with rationing and getting through that with a team spirit, with a kind of a camaraderie kind of thing. And you've had other kind of waves through it. When they look back at this generation, not my generation, the generation after that, this generation now of kind of 20 to 40 year olds, and you look at them and you look at that kind of generation, what's their legacy going to be? Selfish fuckers. That's what their legacy is going to be. They're not going to be in history for doing anything noteworthy. They're going to go down in history for making a pandemic go on longer than it fucking should have done, because they just sat there and went, I'm not being told what to do, I can't be bothered to do what I'm told to do, and I don't give a shit about people around me as long as I'm alright. You know, we've got this new strain flying around now, a lot more infectious. You'd think people would be more cautious. Oh no, bollocks, these people don't give a shit. I think when this all comes to an end, I think we need to remember these people that did this and tell them to fuck off. You know, when they start saying they're struggling and they need things done for them, say, no, sorry, where were you when we needed you? Piss off. I get really annoyed that this whole thing with the new strain, so to speak, everyone's kind of rounding on us. It started here. It did not fucking start here. It came into this country, and a country sitting there being very, very quiet, going, shit, that was in our country, but if we can palm it off and say the UK started this off, we'll all shut our borders and we'll all say, stay out, you know, all that kind of thing. And to be honest, I have my suspicions of where this new strain has started from. I think it's our cousins across the channel. To be honest, because this new strain kicked off and took hold in Kent. Well, a genius, if you know your geography, what's the biggest thing in Kent? Dover. Dover over the channel with lorry drivers flying backwards and forwards. This fucking new variant has come in from Europe to this country, where we're expected to test drivers going out of this country, but countries sending their drivers to our country don't test their drivers. Don't test them at all. So we're having to use up our tests to test other countries' drivers so that they know that their driver's coming back to their country without the virus. Whereas no one's fucking checking their drivers coming back into this country. And that's where this thing is taking the piss. People are making us like the European pariahs. That we've spread this and everyone's got to batten down the hatches because the UK is rife. It came from somewhere. And it came from Europe into this country, and that's what's happened. And people are just staying very quiet and go, "Oh, if we let them take the blame for this." Look at these fuckers in China. New Year's Eve, pictures there. They're carrying on as if nothing's ever happened there. Especially in Wuhan, where it's meant to have started. They're walking around without masks on. They've never had a vaccine. They're all walking around as if nothing's ever happened to them. And I'm thinking, now this isn't right. Either they've had a vaccine and they're staying fucking quiet about it, or there's something not right. There's something not right about their situation over there, that they're carrying on as if nothing ever happened. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't think this thing is fake. I do think there are anomalies. There are things that just don't make sense to do with the figures and how things are reported. The media doesn't help because they just report their version of events. They don't actually report what's happened. They sensationalise things. They say things louder and say other things quieter, and people only hear the loudness and don't hear the quiet stuff. So people think something's really, really bad, and then when you listen and when you look deeper, it's not as bad as they say, but their headline has already got people kind of upset and worried. Other than that, it's going to be hard times ahead. Hopefully I don't hope, I know we will get through this. It's just going to take a bit longer than we thought. I personally think now we've got to the stage where we've got to be hard line with people who don't toe the line and don't do as they're told. A fine just don't work. We've got to think of something else. I honestly think we're going to go down the line of what other countries have done, which is curfew, which is people shouldn't be out after a certain time unless they've got written specific reasons for doing it, or they're a key worker and they've got to prove why they're out. So if you're caught out after a certain time and you haven't got proof, or you've got no right to be out at that time, arrest people. I know it seems harsh, and I know you're going to get the fucking bleeding heart civil rights people saying, "Oh, it's invading our civil liberties." Well, what about your fucking civil responsibilities towards the rest of the people in this country? That seems to have gone out the window. Everyone's so worried about their own individual civil liberties being infringed, but the civil responsibilities for the bigger picture, everyone's just kind of forgetting about it. It just don't matter. I know this is a bit of a serious one for me. I suppose I normally have a bit of a joke on this, but it's a bit difficult to joke about things that piss you off. I do want to jump on here a bit more often now, maybe do some more light-hearted stuff. Give me some ideas of what you think would be a good topic to bring up. What don't help at the moment also is when you're trying to get people to conform, fucking idiots that are in a more privileged position, say footballers, people in the media, celebrities, being caught out day after day after day, just basically going like that to the restrictions, going like that to the NHS. Dickheads like Rita Ora, dickheads like 5 players in the Man City team that went to parties, dickheads like Paul Scholes that held a big party for his children at New Year. and mixed households. Dickheads like that don't help, because people look to them and go, well, if they're not doing it, neither am I. Dickheads like Rita Ora getting caught out once and then putting some fake half-assed apology all over Twitter, and then a week later doing another thing again. They're the kind of dickheads that don't help this problem at all. And then they get away with it. Man City get away with it. They have 5 players that were involved in holding parties. One of them held a party that other players were at. And then they turn around and say, oh, because we've got 5 COVID people with COVID in our team, we don't want to play any of our games. No, fuck off. You put yourself in this position. Pep Guardiola's defence and defended Mendy, the player called Mendy. He defended the guy breaking the law and breaking COVID restrictions. The way he defended it was, well, other people are doing it. Oh, fucking brilliant. Great. So you're in a position of responsibility. You're in a position where people look up to you. So rather than condemn this guy that's broke the rules and say, no, it's not on, and fine him, your argument is because other people do it, it means it's not as bad that he's done it. Well, that's why we're in the fucking mess we're in now. Because everyone looks and goes, well, if he does it, I can do it. Guardiola would have been better coming out and saying, this guy is a dickhead. He shouldn't have done it. We are going to deal with him as a club. It's not acceptable. And everyone needs to do as they're told. But he don't. He's defended this guy by saying, well, other people have done it. And it's like, well, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Just because someone else does it don't mean you have to do it. You know, you're in a position of responsibility. People look up to sports stars and people in the public eye and celebrities. They look up to them. And when they see them breaking the rules, they're thinking, well, it must be all right then. If they're doing it and they're not scared, there's nothing to be worried about. I think a harder line action needs to be taken against people, regardless of who they are, regardless of what their celebrity is. There needs to be, you know, people made an example of in public for acting this way. But it ain't going to happen. I know it ain't going to happen. I'm sitting here, I'm wasting my breath saying this when it comes to celebrities breaking the rules, because nothing ever fucking happens to them. I just hope that somewhere down the line karma gets them, and people are like Guardiola standing up for people breaking the rules rather than condemning them. You kind of think to yourself, well, if you go down with it, you're going to get very little sympathy then, are you? But let's see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to pop off now. I will talk to you soon. As I always say at the end of all my videos, please stay safe, stay healthy, do the right thing, don't be a selfish twat. Do as you're told. We'll get through this eventually. Hopefully we can cut a bit of time off it with the stricter measures coming in and people sticking to them. And if you do see people that are not doing as they're told, you've got my permission to punch them square in the face. Anyway, take care. I will talk to you very, very soon, and maybe even pop on later after Boris has done his bit at 8 o'clock, just to kind of gauge, maybe do a live or something like that. But in the meantime, take care and peace out, my lovelies.